Hi, it's Tansel here, and today I just want to go through some training in relation to getting abstract words remembered and memorized a lot better. So what I mean by that is a lot of people have difficulty trying to make sense or create visual imagery for abstract words. Words like, necessary, creativity, even the word abstract is abstract itself. So in order to formulate images a lot better, we can go through a few exercises. So I'll show you that. Now, why is this a problem first? This is a problem because if you're trying to improve your understanding, comprehension, even memory, creating an image in the quickest possible time helps you to speed things up. And if you're speeding things up, groups of words at a time or one word at a time, what happens is once you pass, say, a few minutes of reading or memorization, you'll notice a massive difference in terms of what you've covered and also what you've understood and learnt. So minute changes in your approach has a massive impact in terms of longevity and focus and concentration, all those things. So that's why it's important to go through and look at how can we best understand ways to make abstract stuff a lot easier to remember. So I want to show you a few things on the board here. So let's go. Okay, so let's think of an abstract word. And I said one earlier, let's just pick creativity. Right, so I'm going to write it here. Creativity. I have to dot my I's because I'm Turkish. Right, so there's a word, creativity. I'm not sure how it looks because there's lights hitting. A word such as creativity, right? It's got a lot of visual imagery. It's not one of those abstract words that doesn't give you anything. In fact, it's the opposite. It gives you a lot. Like, what do you think of when you think of creativity? You can think of art. You can think of, Albert Einstein and his head. You can think of the many times that you've been creative yourself. So it's got many visual connections, creativity. The challenge with that is, especially if you're reading something or listening to something, you're doing something that's live, it takes a while to choose which one is going to work for you, right? So something like that, an increase in creativity training helps to understand how to encode a word like this. Encoding just means making something from nothing, right? So you're taking zeros and ones, so to speak, computer terms, and you're making it a visual, right, in your head to see something. So we've got a lot there for creativity. How do we make that memorable? Well, it's pretty easy. Just whatever comes to your mind first, right, do that. So pick that. So creativity for me, I can actually think of a conference that I spoke at a while ago. And this was a really amazing conference where I met some amazing people. And so it's got a place in my heart. So if you pick something that's got an emotional connection, your memory will actually improve a bit of it as well. And improve in general, because something static and boring, you can remember it. But if you add emotion in there as well, then it goes to another level. So the conference in there. So I think of creativity. I think of the creativity conference. And then I could start my associations from there, right? Other people might have, arts and painting. That's creativity. Great. There's nothing wrong with what you visualize, right? As long as you visualize it, then you could take it to the next level of making it more memorable. So that's creativity. Let's pick a word that we can barely come up with an image for, right? So we'll do the opposite of this. Okay, so let's pick a word that is abstract in a way where it's difficult to even come up with images, right? I'm going to use the word here as contribute, however you want to say it. Right? I like my C words today. So contribute, right? You look at that and go, okay, in a few seconds I can think of something, like maybe I've contributed to something, right? But it doesn't necessarily give you an image in your head, right? You can't come up with an image for contribute. It has to be connected to something. It has to be in context of something. That's how you actually understand how to create an image for these words. So a word for contribute an image for contribute only really comes up once you understand how the context works. So I contributed to the football team I was working with, and they performed 10% better, right? Yes, I added contributed, but again, I'm just using the word contribute in there. If I was to try and remember it correctly, then I'd use it in that same sort of grammatical rules. I contribute to the performance of the team or something like that, right? But if we just want to create an image, you can use any form of that, right? So contribute has to come from context, right? Let's create another context for it, right? Contribute, I contribute. Notice how I used I contribute. Again, if you use yourself in any sort of memorization or encoding, that makes it more memorable because you can now start using your emotions. Right? If you contribute to something, if you're involved in something that has had success or even failure, you're going to feel it, right? And the brain doesn't know what's real and what's not. So since you're feeling the impact of that, guess what's going to happen? It's going to be memorable, right? So contribute. Now, if I was to take it in another context and say, he contributed or she contributed, they contributed. I'm still using contributed, but you know what I mean, right? I'm just trying to create the image. Then I see a group of people. So it becomes more visual, right? Again, there's nothing wrong with just creating visual imagery as opposed to visual and emotional, right? Personal. Obviously, the emotional personal gets onto another level. But you can't always do that with everything, especially at the speed of which you come across these words. And that's really the challenge, right? If you had all the time in the world, obviously you just sit there staring at contribute and going, okay, how can I make this more memorable, right? Look at all these factors and stuff. That's where memory training really comes in handy. If you can play around with these abstract words, and you can download them from our website as well, tanseloli.com, right? Download the words and play around, take your time. So if you've got all the time in the world, you can do that. But most people don't have the time. They're reading, emails or, proposals or, anything for work or personal development. You come across certain words and you go, it's not making sense. I have to go back and reread. That's what generally happens with abstract information, abstract data. It's really data. The information is once it's made meaningful, right, in an IT sense. So contribute. Two ways. One, creating in context for yourself, right, or for others. Now, I'm not saying for myself, personal emotion works better every time. There might be instances where the external works a lot better because it's highly visual, right? It's going to be hard for me to give an example off the top of my head for now, but stay tuned for my more memory training videos that I do online with the list of words that I've got. Because in there, I go through exactly what you can do in order to tackle words like contribute and creativity and necessary and obliged and all these words that people come across and going, how do I create context around this that's memorable, right? So there we go. There's a video on making abstract words a bit more memorable, what sort of things you can do, what works, and also what doesn't work as well. Like I said, if you just make something static and even just a sentence, like I contributed to the health of the company, and if you don't get an image for it, you're not going to remember it. So that all increases with memory training. So give that a go. Any questions, feel free to message me or comment down below. I'm sure people have some questions in there. But for now, have a go at that. Download some of the files on my website. It's all free. You can have a play around and message me. Take care. Bye.